can be an informed and active citizen in the United States. We've already talked about who citizens are and the duties and responsibilities of citizens, but let's dive in a little bit more and talk about ways that you can participate in society. The obvious way for most people is simply voting. On election day, you can vote. Voting does not just mean voting for the president, but it means voting for a whole host of offices, from the president all the way to the Secretary of State for the state of North Carolina, and the Attorney General, sometimes judges, the mayor, your school board, and even sometimes on issues. And we're going to talk about voting a little bit more after this list. So, number 2, you can petition your government. Petitioning is simple. You write out a petition. Different cities or states might have different policies on what the petition entails. But for example, you could write to your school board and say, we would like to ban school uniforms, and you would have to draft a statement, and then you would have teachers and students and parents sign your petition, and you could present it to the school board. Going back to power in numbers, you'll get a lot more accomplished if you have a lot more people behind you than it just simply being you presenting an idea. Another way to be an active and informed citizen is by volunteering. You can learn so much by volunteering and serving others. And volunteering can be as complex or as simple as you desire. It could be donating blood, starting a community garden, collecting canned goods, picking up trash off the side of the street. There are so many ways you can volunteer. Another way we talked about in the last lesson is through jury duty. You are required to complete jury duty if you're called into court to serve, and we have to do this because the 6th Amendment says that we will have a speedy and fair trial, and part of having a fair trial means that we will have a jury to help reach a decision, a verdict, and that jury will be made up of our peers. To me, number 5 is one of the biggest and most important ways of being an active citizen, and that is simply being informed. You can be informed by listening to the news, reading the news, using several sources to combat bias. If you're only looking at one source, it's likely going to be biased, but if you're looking at a whole host of different sources, then you'll be able to have a more well-informed picture of what's happening. You should be informed so that you know what laws are being introduced and passed, what candidates are running for office, what is happening in the world around you, what's happening with your neighbors, so that you are better able to advocate for yourself and for them and your rights. So being informed is super important, and it's really not hard to do in this day and age with the internet. Another way to participate in society is maybe through picketing. Picketing is, think about like the people standing outside of a store or on a road with signs or banners or t-shirts protesting against something that they do not like, or taking a stand for something that they support. We've seen a lot of picketing in the last several years as people are able to gather through social media and spread the word and organize picketing events. Another way is to help political parties campaign. Now, we could say you could run for office when you're of the right age. And if that is not your cup of tea, you can always help other people who are running for office campaign. You can wear shirts that support them. You can put signs in your yard or bumper stickers on your car. You can post about them on social media or tell your friends and neighbors all about who you're voting for and why you support them. That's a big deal. Spreading the word at the grassroots level is a huge help to political candidates running for office. You can also participate in forums and public hearings. I think about the school board. The school board will ask if the public has any opinions on things and invite the public to come and share their concerns, and oftentimes not very many people show up. You can go to the school board meeting and share your concerns, or you can write in and tell them about your concerns. And this is at all levels of government. Even the federal government has public hearings. I think of Congress have congressional hearings where they are hearing information so that they can better determine how to legislate. You can also join an interest group. I want you to write an interest group. Are you listening? An interest group is a group of people with common interest that work to influence the government. And we see there are bazillions of examples, okay? So the NRA is a common one that people know, the National Rifle Association, NRA, and they advocate for gun rights and the Second Amendment. The ACLU is the American Civil Liberties Union, and they advocate for people's rights. Okay, they tend to be more liberal and work to ensure the rights of minorities, for example, and they are going to advocate for those minorities and their rights. They're going to advocate in the local level and the state level and the federal level. They'll advocate through legislation, helping introduce legislation, partnering with Congress or other legislators to write legislation. They might help fund court costs in lawsuits, for example. The NAACP is the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. Okay. The NAACP, we're going to talk a little bit more about in our movement when we talk about in our next lesson, when we talk about the civil rights movement. You can also lobby government officials. Now, interest groups hire lobbyists. So oftentimes you'd pay a fee to join an interest group, and those fees go for many purposes, but one of them is to hire lobbyists, which are people who work for the interest group and will work with legislators to try to convince them to, whatever the interest group's goal is. So the lobbyists are usually experts in the field. They're very persuasive, and they're able to rally support behind an idea. Now, you could also lobby government officials by going and talking with them, reaching out to them, going to meet with them, sending them letters. Yes, you can send letters to or call or email your legislators and your government officials. They are there to represent us, and they do that by hearing our concerns. So these are a few ways that you could participate in society.